So thanks to Instruction Dave and welcome to SWmobile. It's our first meetup in our new office. I'm really pleased to have you folks here and hopefully it will be a venue you can use in future as well. So I'm going to begin the journey of discussing the Chinese super app ecosystem with Tencent as the best example, because in some sense they were the forerunner and established the culture of the super app in China. By way of introduction, I worked with the Naspers group in Africa. They own 30% of Tencent, and I've seen much of this played out in Africa over the last few years prior to founding Candide. So in 2010, the Tencent team had a dilemma. They had an MSN-like chat app in China called QQ. It was very successful, been going 10 years. It was throttled by the SMS format and was being copied by the carriers that delivered that messaging to its users. So looking at Silicon Valley and the birth of WhatsApp in 2009, they thought, here's a fantastic solution to our problem, let's bring that over to China. And in typical Chinese fashion, they moved incredibly quickly. In 14 months, they had launched the app. In only 3 months, they launched the app called Wechat. It added video support, had 100 million users, and are ready to go global. So prolific startup to growth. And their growth curve speaks for itself. Everything that you already know. Prolific growth and success. However, this slide deck looks very similar to WhatsApp so far. So what is it that made the super app? The super app. So far, this is a very strong growing chat ecosystem. Well, there are three dynamics I've observed, and I try my best to explain that coalesced to build WeChat out into a super app ecosystem. The first was their struggle to globalize. There's a very well documented set of case studies of WeChat's struggles in India, which I recommend that you read. Essentially, they lost India to WhatsApp. They launched pretty much right away after their decision to globalize. India was a fantastic market for them to get into. WhatsApp wasn't there yet. Within a month, they were #1 in the Play Store. They already had market lead. But very quickly, two things started to hit them on the friction front. One was feature fit. So one simple example, there are very many, but the most documented example was in WeChat, you had to request someone to become your friend, and they had to accept that request. WhatsApp looked at your phone book and said, here's your friends, you can message right away. That simple bit of friction was popular in China, but not in India. Many other examples followed, but feature fit was one. But secondly, government sensitivity flared up. Quite quickly, Indian users could tell that certain phrases were being censored or weren't reaching the recipient. And this sparked Indian government's shekels on what's going on. The Tencent team did their best to quell the concern, but that concern proliferated, and no doubt other local players pushed that PR story against Tencent's interests. And long story short, by 2016 they'd abandoned WeChat in India and invested in a local equivalent. This played out in most other territories across the world. Feature fiction and a sensitivity to China oversight played against them. And I don't know if you know this, but WeChat came very close to buying WhatsApp in 2014. They had gotten very close to striking a deal for $8.5 billion. But one stroke of bad luck in that Pony Ma, Tencent's CEO, went in for a back op. Just as the deal was ready to conclude and close, he had to delay the discussion, and Mark Zuckerberg got wind of it. And of course, quickly swooped in, offered double the offer, and made sure he grabbed it away. So had that not happened, we could easily today have one global chat private ecosystem with WeChat, WhatsApp, and Facebook trying to enter that space from a public social space with difficulty. So there was also luck in the draw. The second dynamic is the Chinese entrepreneur. This is a book I recommend you all read. You probably have already read. But Kai-Fu Lee is a strong example of a Chinese mindset businessman. And he, in his book AI Superpowers, expresses the dynamic of the Chinese mindset in entrepreneurship. One strong factor behind their business model is that many Chinese are one generation away from grinding poverty, China was a sick man of Asia, even up to the 60s. You look at their GDP, it was horrendously negative and difficult. And it suddenly then hit that growth trajectory in the 70s and 80s. So today's Chinese leaders are often the first generation with means. Their parents and their grandparents have memory and reality of struggle. Many of them are also the one child of the one child. 2 parents and 4 grandparents all vesting their entire hopes and future in you. Creates a huge amount of pressure. And from day one, you are competing in China. So if you want a job at Tencent today, and this is hard truth, I know this for a fact, they only recruit the best grads with the first class pass from the best universities at master's level engineering. If you've got a bachelor's, forget it. If you're not first, forget it. If you're not from the best university, forget it. To get to that first class master's degree, you have had to fight your way from kindergarten. There's entrance exams when you're 5 years old, and they're relentless all the way through the system. So it's an intensely competitive space. And as Kai-Fu Lee puts it, you combine a cultural acceptance of copycatting, the scarcity mentality from the impoverished past, and essentially you are willing as an entrepreneur to go at anything. There's no sitting back and being visionary altruistic about your business. You go for opportunity, and you go hard, and you go fast. So Tencent's trying to go global, and this entrepreneurial nest erupts domestically. It's called a Colosseum of Entrepreneurs in China in Kai-Fu Lee's book. And the best example I can give you, and you should read this up if you haven't already, is 1,000 Groupon War. So in 3 years, Groupon was born in America. It was copied by 1,000 plus businesses, I mean literally. And they killed each other. They copied each other, they smeared. This Meetup will not exist because you would be going after each other's talent so hard. You'd be reporting each other's CEOs to the police. They were in jail. Forcibly uninstalling your competitors' apps. There was absolutely no decorum. And after 3 years of war, there were 3 market leaders left. So over 1,000 perished, just got trampled. So you're Tencent trying to build your global app, and then back home, this is just going nuts. And so at the end of 2013, you've got these hardened entrepreneurs who got anything competing against you. You've got global fiction, and you've got a mindset of not being mission but market driven. And the term I hear a lot now when people talk of China and when they express interest is get the oxygen. Like that's the mission in China. Like if there's oxygen, grab it. So from then on in, everything I speak of and what you're seeing here, just have that in your mind. This is an intensely competitive market, unprecious as to what the opportunity is. Just grab it and get it away from somebody else. So Tencent then starts to layer. Late 2012, they've got chat. Well, how do we start to proliferate? Let's connect offline and online. QR codes become a thing. They work super well in China. From 2012 onwards, QR codes go everywhere. Everything is QR coded. And it means that you can point your phone offline and connect online and vice versa. They also start to introduce the concept of branded official accounts inside Wechat. So as a company, Candide can have a branded page and connect to the community. Now, this wasn't intended to be a gateway to the world, but actually it did provide that opportunity for global Western brands to use Wechat accounts to talk to China's consumers. So that was a boon, but it was born out of Tencent trying to connect all the parts of the ecosystem better together. Offline, online, businesses, consumer. That was step one, building out opportunity. They then added complexity, so they added social gaming to the platform. Messi was a very, very successful global campaign, gave them 100 million extra users, but that was a blip. From 2014 onwards, Tencent's not talked about its global user base because it doesn't really have one to speak of. In 2014, 2013 they added the wallet as well. This wasn't their innovation, it was ahead of Alipay from Alibaba. Again, just trying to survive and compete hard against their competitor. But they ingeniously turned that wallet into a strong Chinese metaphor. So Chinese New Year, people gift each other red letters offline, and they create a virtual equivalent. In the first month, millions go through the platform. One day, 2 years later, one day, 2.3 billion red letters transact. I mean, can you imagine engineering that copes with that volume? Absolutely explosive example of successfully taking an offline idea, bringing it online and seamless, and then it just proliferates across the platform. Now, you sit at this and you think, well, these guys are absolutely genius. Yes, they are very driven, very clever people. They hire the best. But these are the big successes. What's made these successes is that they have failed thousands and thousands of times. So Tencent, if there's an idea, they put 5 engineers on it. If it goes somewhere in a month, they put 50 on it, 500. They have got, I mean, in one day in 2016, they took on 3,000 Masters of Engineering students on the first day after graduation. Like, it's just volume. So they've just got abilities and organism to drive hard and add volume to their efforts. It's really impressive, but it's not just ingenuity, it's also sheer volume of effort. Then you've got capabilities and some successes, layer. So you've got a wallet, you've got official accounts. Well, official account could be a business. So a taxi is a business, a wallet is a means of payment. You've got people on the app, and turn that into a taxi service. So from 2014, they already partnered with Didi to do Uber type taxi hailing. In March 2014, they partnered with JD, the large e-commerce giants, to beat back Alibaba and do an online mall. And then 2 months later, they enriched that experience in the app as a kind of WeChat store. So quite a rich applet that became a store through your official account with transactions and an ability to interact with your customer. Layer, just keep adding to it. And then, of course, the ubiquitous mini app programs were launched. So this is what Dave spoke of last time. In January 2017, they evolved this idea further and brought it all together as an instantly installable HTML5 mini app inside your WeChat program. So this is McDonald's mini app. If you're McDonald's in China, you've got zero chance of launching an iOS app. You have got to reach your customer through to WeChat because they've got the customer. And in fact, they've taught you that it's easier to do it through them. So everyone's happy. McDonald's gets strong volume. They don't have to plumb much in. This is pretty much a simple collaborative ecosystem. You can build a mini app in no time as a brand. It's really simple. And again, foot on the pedal all the way, adding instant games, which is just richer mini apps in December. And the summary is by February 2019, there's 1 million mini programs on WeChat. I mean, it's half the size of the entire Apple App Store, just for China, just in one size platform. But essentially, from the end of 2013, it was just survival and just going at it really hard to grab that oxygen and build yourself out as fast and as hard as you can. Okay, so that's the kind of evolution of it. Lots of ingenuity, lots of sheer effort, some really impressive stuff. But if you think that in this room we are safe, a year ago I'd say yes, this is a uniquely Chinese dynamic that is borne out. Well, not so much anymore. This is The Verge last month. Facebook wants to be WeChat. And when I show you the first demo, substitute everything I'm telling you with Instagram, and you can imagine how this could actually come to play in our markets. So I think the world of us as app builders having the luxury of owning a niche are going to be numbered. The big boys are fighting each other. I mean, Apple and Facebook and Amazon, everyone else is doing streaming music and TV and commerce and community. I think these barriers are starting to drop across the world because everyone wants to get more of your airtime. Okay, so I'm going to demo 2 apps to you. I'm not going to start with WeChat. There's actually a better super app in our view here at Candide, which is called Little Red Book. Now, I'm going to be demoing from a friend's demo. I have a very kind friend who shows me these apps. I do not speak Mandarin, so if I get something slightly wrong, please forgive me. This is me being a puppet, showing you what I have been shown. I'll then show you some WeChat as well, just to close off the slide deck, and you can see it in action. It's #MyLife. So it's a social network that is geared largely at female audiences, 20s to 40s. So I'm setting myself up here as a 24-year-old female, and as you onboard, you pick your interests. So in that screen, my friend and I had chosen wedding, restaurants, travel, home renovation, and beauty. And the next screen, you get subtopics. Now, the power of these Chinese apps is that they are super personalized and super AI driven, like they all are, without exception. They're so powerful. Already here, it's giving me subtopics of my topic. So for example, in wedding, I've got photos, dress, wedding planner, island wedding, gifts. But I've also got an introduction of a topic called photography, which is inferred based on, well, I've got travel and wedding in my pics. Surely photography relates. So there's kind of inferences going on here from get-go. There's no onboarding and learning. It's already starting to be intelligent. It's also pushing education to me because I'm 24 years old and I'm probably into education. So it's kind of mixing the bag, things I want and things that already thinks I'm going to want based on other user habits. I'll go ahead and choose my topics and load my feed. Every Chinese app or large-scale super app we have seen at Candid and Wechat tends to have three metaphors at the top. There's always yours. So like your feed, in this case it's follow on the left here. There's the get yourself lost feed. So explore is normally a place you can get lost in for hours and hours and hours. It's so addictive. And then nearby, or in many apps it's called recommended. So something that is not yours that you've chosen, but things that it's inferred that you would like to explore and you'd like to see. There's Tutel, the intelligent news app, which has got those different labels but works in a very similar way. So there are between these apps very similar features. So I'm in my feed now. I'm just going to tap into a user's post and see what's going on. There's some clever UX, user tells you how to scroll, how to interact with the app. And I'll go back. So from Explore, I'm going to go into Nearby. So this app knows that my friend's in the UK, so it's bringing up UK-related posts. And the way she puts it is that it never gives you the same mix of Nearby twice, ever. Every refresh she's doing, it's starting to mix it up, and trying to tease out what you need. And you don't stay nearby for long. The minute you start to dig in, it starts to run away. So it kind of pulled you. So she started off in the UK. As she goes into some wedding stuff, it's like, oh, here's a Thailand getaway for your honeymoon. So it's really starting to pull you from your interest base away from what you've chosen. Really powerful. And it's interesting that she knows that this is going on and she's happy with it. Something that this app does really well, we kind of marvel at it over here at Candid, is this reputation reward mechanism. So as a Red user, you get given this avatar. It's a potato, and you start life as a baby potato, and through working hard for reward, you manifest as a more mature potato. I'll show you the potato in a second. You literally are a potato. Because you've not chosen anything and follow, this is much like Explore. It's kind of trying to tease out some choices from you. Right now it doesn't know me at all yet, so this is much the same. Again, keeps pulling me away. It's going off to London now, stuff based on my interest. It's not staying close for long. Right, so this is a super app. So Little Red Book has only been around for 5 years, but from day one it had a store. This wasn't Instagram. It went straight into e-commerce because, well, you're in China, so if you're going to be showing off influencers and celebrity, well, sell beauty products because they coexist. So I'm now in the app. Now, just follow me on this trail of how prolific things get in China. This app has its own TV show now. So there's a TV show, and on the TV show, it's influencers from the app who are now stars on the show. And those influencers on the TV show from the app spend the time on the show using their app to recommend products to their friends. You then break for commercial, and the commercial is another influencer who's really famous saying, oh, I have just heard on the TV show about this new product. Look at how amazing it is on my skin. There's a special offer in the app expiring in 2 hours time, and a Groupon thing kicks off in the app. So it's got Groupon as well. And then you go into the app, and these personas are in the app, and you can engage with them. So the whole thing, offline, online, TV app, it's everywhere. It's so prolific. It's super connected to your life in China. So here, there's an offer. Because I'm a new user, there's an introductory offer. These are the hottest products from the TV show. And every bit of real estate in a Chinese super app is used for clickable effect. So the search bar actually says, on today's TV show, is this product, and it's 40% off right now if you click here. So even the search bar is getting you to act. It's not just type something in and it's not blank. Everything, and this is common, all the apps we see have this kind of call to action every single place. So that's the store. Of course, you can pay inside the app. You never leave the app. You live in this app, and you don't have to leave it. And that's the thing. A Chinese super app wants your full attention. It doesn't want to give you off to someone else for anything. It's your app. It's your world. So if you're 20 to 40 something in China into fashion, you should be able to live here happily all day long. So this is recommended for me. Recommended products based on my preferences. You then cycle through some categories. So the next one is digital, next one is home, next one's electronics, next one is pets, and the next one is all. And again, it's made these inferences based on the categories I've chosen and other users inside the app, and all is this massive superstore of thousands and thousands and thousands of products. Even food can be bought inside this app. Like nothing is out of reach. They go for everything. So what I'm doing now is showing you the online, offline connectivity. So far we've been online, but I'm now, my friend is searching for Little Red Book pop-up store is literally what she's typed into the search bar. So inside the Little Red app, you're going to start to see all of their offline stores appear as searchable items. And these are user posts from a Little Red Book store in a mall near to them. Okay, here's the famous QR code. So everything on the shelf is available in the app. Everything is QR coded, so the app's seen that and labeled this poster. It says, I know what that is about. You can click here and buy this thing. So the two worlds are seamless inside and online the app. I asked my friend, so what is it about these stores? Like, what's the purpose? And she says, well, for a Little Red Book is a community, and they want their user to feel a part of the community and to be able to touch and experience the brand. So you go in the store for many reasons. Her mum goes to the store to learn what's trending, that she can have a conversation with her daughter. She's not on the app because she's not in the demographic, but she can go in the store, try a product, and talk to her daughter about that product through the app. For many people, it's a means for them to go into the store, take a photo of themselves experiencing the store, post the use of products in the app, and become part of that ecosystem. And there's always a reward for this. So these acts are all tracked inside the app. Your contributions, your purchases, all enable you to gain reward reputation. So here's somebody who's got some fingernails products from a search, and here's Potato Head coming in. So this guy with a tick works for Little Red Book's team, and his job is to connect the community together, to kind of heat things up constantly. So what he does is there'll be a particular Potato Head curator for topics, and because I've chosen health and beauty, if I post a really nice photo of using a product, he'll put me on his page and say, look at this person. And he's an influencer in his own right because he's part of this network. And that's going to help me kind of build my profile socially. So there's these actors inside the app that also draw the community up and together and kind of make you feel part of the system. So my friend really expresses this brand as a part of her life. Like she is a part of this big network. Here's how brands get labeled. So users go to the trouble of photographing themselves and labeling everything they're wearing to the brand. This is done by every user. You can then tap on that label and go to the brand's own page. So again, you can have a fairly personal experience of Burberry through the app by connecting to the official page. Everything is swirling around. Here's a reputation system. So she's now a learning potato. She's come from baby to infants. She's doing pretty well. But she has to work really, really hard to progress. It's not like make 5 posts a day. I mean, she's got to get friends in, she's got to buy products, she's got to rate things, she's got to be places. It's quite a lot of work to progress up and up and up. But when you do, you get discounts, you get mentions, and the kind of ultimate reward for a user is to be on the app's homepage. So imagine such a powerful branded ecosystem that the biggest reward you give people is to be using their content as your app's marketing. So these videos are the best of the best users on the login screen, and like people fight for this, fight hard. None of the app's content is editorial; it's all user generated. And to end on Little Red Book, it's not just in China. This is now Bristol. So we have looked for near me, and there's Jean's Bistro on Gloucester Road. So my friend had been there a year ago and had rated Jean's Bistro. She's labelled everything dutifully as a Little Red Book user on her plate. Gone to a lot of effort to photograph the full course. And this is not atypical, this is typical behaviour. Written a long and extensive review of the restaurant, which you see coming up now. And tagged and liked all of her friends. Jean's Bistro has had thousands of visitors referencing this rating. This is in a year in Bristol, far from China. And she's gotten herself quite a few meals as thanks. And this is another example of a British brand. Collection of Style is really hot among the user base. Lots of people posting, linking, connecting. So this is kind of ebbing into our world, and there's no doubt on Facebook's mind, because they'll be seeing this in Silicon Valley, right? There'll be Little Red Book users running around taking photographs, which should be on Instagram. That's Little Red Book. And then just Wechat quickly to end. So I asked my friend, how does she contrast these two worlds? So for her, Wechat's private. She doesn't want it to be a public feed, whereas on Little Red Book, everything is very public. So that's kind of the main difference in app usage going on here. So here's the chat interface inside Wechat. So on screen here, you've got some hints. And essentially, they are moments. So they're kind of like a Facebook feed. There are articles, official accounts, mini programs, music, and emojis. Those are the search categories. So now she's going to enter Little Red Book as a search term. And in the search results, you have somebody who's called herself Little Red Book. You've got the mini app itself. So Little Red Book is in Wechat as a mini app. And there's groups who have, exactly, it's just proliferation, right? And there's groups that talk about Little Red Book frequently. So these are your broad search results. And down here's all. This is kind of everything. So this is the Little Red Book mini app inside Wechat. Now you can see the same card interfaces coming through. But my friend says it's slow and a bit clunky. It's not nearly as rich as the Red experience. So she doesn't live in this, but she gave me this as an example. This little menu has repost, add this to my mini programs, and about the app itself, which we'll tap in a second. But these categories are the same as I've just seen inside the native app. Okay, this is about Little Red Book itself, or its other mini app relatives. You can rate the app and you can share the app. Okay, so now we're entering the chat interface between my friend and her mother. And her mother's willing to be public inside Wechat. My friend isn't. So this is her mother's public profile with her moments feed, so the equivalent of her Facebook feed. So it's in the middle here. And this is her sort of social interface sitting inside Wechat. So already you've got sort of private messaging, you've got Facebook coming in, you've got all these other mini apps already visible. We're going to quickly now look for Starbucks. So you search for Starbucks, and we're going to add them as a mini app into the interface, and look how quick this happens. So you tap it, you accept the Wechat terms and conditions, click OK, and this is now a live install. I haven't doctored the speed. This is in the UK installing Starbucks into Wechat. Boom, done. So here you can buy a drink right away. You can buy gift cards for yourself, you can buy gift cards for other people. You can see your purchase history. You can also then, in a second, tap into the Starbucks official account. So going back to 2014 where this began, Starbucks has an official page that you can interact with. And that's publicly visible if you don't have the mini app all over the Wechat ecosystem. So I've just tapped that. And this number is amazing to me. So 237 of my friends' friends have this mini app for Starbucks in China. So this is not a total score, this is just her friends and herself interacting with one brand. And she's living in the UK and I should live in China. Okay, that's it. It's a lot to cover in a short amount of time. I'm very happy to take any additional questions or comments through to the drinks. Thank you.